Disney classics, original programs, National Geographic, Marvel TV shows and movies, Star Wars. Now, these are just some of the choices you'll get on Disney Plus. And this is the podcast for Disney Plus fans. Join Scott Murray, Regina Davis, and Nathan Chick as they bring you breaking news, programming recaps, in-depth discussions, and insightful interviews that will take your Disney Plus fandom to new levels. Welcome to the Disney Plus Streamcast.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Plus Streamcast. We are all here together for a very important reason. D23. It has finally come and gone. We were expecting some big things to come out of that convention, and there were quite a few, and we hope to cover some of those today. And it's going to be the three hosts of the Disney Plus Streamcast. I'm Scott Murray, and I'm here with Regina Davis and Nathan Chick.
Very excited for this one. It's going to be a big one.
We're just rocking and rolling over here. I tell you, I feel like John Hurt in Alien, like there's just something that wants to explode out of my chest. I'm just so excited. All the anticipation. It's going to be great.
We got all kinds of things, and we're going to cover a little bit of everything. I mean, we got announcements, we had some people make some interesting comments, and of course we had trailers. So, to start off with, I know that this doesn't directly tie into Disney Plus, at least not in the immediate future, but it will be there. But how can we not talk about something related to Star Wars, since we are going to talk about Star Wars a little bit throughout the show. With the new movie coming out, people were wondering what kind of things we were going to get for Rise of Skywalker. There was a sizzle reel, there were a couple of clips, but the first thing they showed us, at least everybody, was this new poster. And it's an interesting take, I think. You know, we usually have gotten some of those posters where you've got all the characters on top of one another so often. But here, you've got Rey and Kylo Ren fighting. And then we've got Palpatine. I'm assuming that's Palpatine. Looks like him.
Yeah.
Looking over them, which, of course, keeps the intrigue up of how he's kind of tied to this whole thing. I will say I kind of like the break from, some of the other posters we've seen. But what's weird to me is the Emperor looks like, I don't know, he looks animated. He looks like, we've got Rey and Kylo Ren, and then we've got the Emperor from, one of the animated series looking over him. It's an interesting mock of him, I thought.
I agree. I wanted someone else to say something before I did, just so I could, kind of take the temperature, because I don't know what it is, but this poster just did not do it for me. Like, the action pose is really, really well done. Sort of the, red and blue lightning cracking and things like that are very cool. But with both of those things, just the red side, the blue side, and then Palpatine kind of looming overhead looking goofy, I thought it was just a little bit on the nose, and it actually kind of irked me when I first saw it.
Well, when I first saw it, it reminded me a little bit of Luke and Vader on the poster for Jedi.
Yeah.
But they were a lot closer together, like the sabers were clashing. And I don't know, this one, it's kind of lacking a bit of the drama for me. And it felt like they were shoehorning the whole Palpatine thing in just a little bit.
Yes.
Like, we haven't talked about him in the last two movies, but guess what? Guess who's back? And I don't know how I feel about it. I guess if you haven't been following it and you're a bit casual, like a casual Star Wars fan, I think most of us are. I think I probably am compared to you two. And you didn't know that he was coming back. If you hadn't seen the reveal at Star Wars Celebration or anything like that, then maybe that would get you excited for it. But I think if you know already what's coming, I don't think it contributed to the build-up much. I'm more interested in the sizzle reel than I am in the poster. And I hate that because, way back from the first poster when, the Hildebrand brothers did that iconic original Star Wars poster, the art has always been on point. It's always been brilliant. It's always compelled you to want to see it. It's always been the sum of its parts. It was every bit as epic as the movie was. And this is just, that's cool. Lightning. Yeah. I like lightning.
Yeah,
cool.
Me too. Like, oh, Palpatine. Yeah, we know. Like,
right.
I just kind of wish they'd left it at the laugh at the end of the trailer.
Yeah, because I'm still wondering how that's all going to go down. I mean, I
wonder what they mean by that.
Yeah, and I know that's what we're supposed to be thinking. I get it. You know,
Yeah, I
oh,
already
this will.
was. I didn't need him
Yeah,
on the poster.
yeah, right.
You nailed it.
Because I'm not one of those people that just assumes that he's resurrected in some way.
No.
Because I think the other thing that's important to remember is that this film is not only the end of this trilogy, it's the end of the entire saga. And you heard JJ and some of the other people bring it up, even over on D23, about how they were surprised somewhat at how certain things unfolded, but there was a lot of attempts to really not only try to end the trilogy, but to end the saga. And to me, that's where Palpatine comes in. It's just a matter of how directly or indirectly he's involved. But clearly, he hovers over it, literally in some way, enough to at least feel like they had to put him on the poster. I mean, I will say that about him. I mean, while we're sitting here not quite sure what to think of, some of the choices, clearly he's relevant enough in the grand scheme of things that they felt he needed to be on the poster.
But, like, how much fun would it have been to find that out when I watched the movie?
Well, I'm still wondering what it all means. It didn't tell me anything. The only thing it told me was, I always thought, because again, I'm having trouble understanding how you could literally resurrect him outside of crazy fan theories that generally don't come into play in the actual films. I just thought there might have been some sort of mild tie-in from, Palpatine's influence, and that was enough to have his laugh in the trailer. But for him to be on the poster, to me, I guess the only thing that tells me is it's bigger than that.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I remember when I was really into my sci-fi as a kid, watching Dune and thinking, man, I've seen this before in Star Wars, and people saying, no, Lucas ripped a lot of stuff on Dune. And later on in the books, the influence of those, the antagonists, the Harkonnens, it does manifest itself in what you think would be the protagonist later on, like the bloodline. I guess their genetic memory is all passed down through, and they, no spoilers. I mean, I think the book's been out like 30 or 40 odd years. That person, Ali of the Knife, turns bad. She gets corrupted by that influence, and they did show, I want to say it's Rey with her double fort red lightsaber. And so maybe it's just kind of like, the psychic influence. Maybe it's not a physical thing. Maybe it's that force stuff that we don't really understand and they don't really explain. Midi-chlorians. Yeah, okay, whatever. Maybe it's one of those things. And, we just kind of just have to let JJ open up that mystery box for us, and, all will be revealed.
Yeah, when he loves his mystery box.
That's at least a poster. So we've covered a poster. Very important. We covered something that's on a sheet of paper. Now we can talk about trailers. And there were several of them. Man, I mean, that day that I was like kind of trying to follow things, I mean, it was just trailer after trailer after trailer started to hit social media. The first one I want to touch on and get some reaction is Lady and the Tramp.
Oh, man.
This is the latest attempt to make the movies more realistic. I guess you can say live action here versus Lion King because there are people in this. I will say it did surprise me that this is, I guess, being made for Disney Plus. Was kind of a surprise. I didn't know that going in. I just assumed it was going to be in theaters like the rest of them. And this was actually one of those movies, I remember having some pretty strong ties to as a kid. Maybe it's because it's one of the ones I remember going to see in the theater, and maybe it's because I love dogs. As far as what they showed us, I love what they've done here with bringing Lady and the Tramp to life. I love the two dogs. They had the dogs there. I think one of them is a rescue. It looks okay. I found myself wanting to see some familiar things, but it has been several years since I've watched the animated version, so part of me was trying to remember certain things. But I mean, I think the two dogs look pretty good. The voices sound good. I think I may just have to watch the animated one and see and compare the two, but on first glance, I thought it was okay.
I just don't think that you'd be doing yourself any favor to watch the animated and compare it. I feel like if you did that, you're just setting yourself up for failure. And that's a shame because, you know what? I did think that trailer looked pretty good. It did captivate me a little bit. I was like, okay, so this is... I know we're very much into the whole superhero thing and the Star Wars thing, and that's got the zeitgeist at the moment. But it does say Disney Plus. And Disney, before Marvel and before Star Wars, he was known for those amazing properties. And I felt like that was their way of appealing to adopters of that service based on the Disney side of things. Hey, you're a Mouseketeer. It's not all Winter Soldier and what happens next in the MCU. We've got some stuff for you guys. We see you in your mouse ears. We've got some stuff for the faithful. And, you know, it's kind of like their keynote, like their touchstone thing, like, you know, come to Disney Plus for this, stay for the back catalogue. I was intrigued enough to think that I want to watch it, but I'd watch anything with Tessa Thompson in. So, you know.
Yeah, she's a queen. But I would say I totally agree with you. I think it's smart that they're making this movie because there are people that, you know, just are only there for sort of the true original Disney stuff. I am going to confess that I could not even finish the trailer because my emotions cannot handle dog-related cinema. I got to the point in the trailer where Lady is chasing after the vehicle, and I just lost it. I just started crying, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this for the discussion. I'm not going to go see this movie. No. And so I had to stop, but I love that you guys are excited. Have a good time.
Well, if I remember right, though, unlike some of the other dog movies we've discussed on other podcasts, I think everybody lives in this one, right?
Scott, I don't care how it ends. I don't care if they both end up president of the United States and everything is just perfect. I cannot watch the sad parts, and I won't. I just can't. I can't do it. It's too much. Bet I could. Even when it's happy, I'll cry.
Oh, well, for all the right reasons. Tears of joy. I mean, you know, it's Disney. You got to have your cuddly feels in there, right?
I know.
The next trailer is probably the one people were anticipating the most, especially if you were not at Star Wars Celebration, where you got to see at least, you know, the non-pirated version of the clips and stuff you saw there. Finally, a trailer with footage for the public. What can you say? I mean, this is just going to be so great.
Oh, it's going to be so awesome.
It's everything you really could want out of a Star Wars series. You know, Jon Favreau said he is shooting it like he's making a film, a cinematic film, and it looks like that. And, you know, you're sitting there thinking, well, why not? That's what Star Trek Discovery is doing, too. So they shoot their show like it's a film, I think. You know, all the glimpses of the characters, you know, and you even had some stormtroopers in there and some stormtrooper helmets on spikes.
Oh, God, that was so cool. And that was only like a few, like probably like 15 seconds in or something. And you just see that and you're like, okay, so this is what this is going to be like. It's some serious, like rough and tumble, like real edge of the universe type of nonsense, like Star Wars Mad Max. And I love it.
IG-88, that scene with him where he's whipping out the blaster.
Yes.
And what I loved about it was, I think you spoke before on the last episode about practical effects and things like that. It didn't look like CG. It looked just like it was there, like they were in the desert doing their thing, like back in the day. It looks so good.
And that's actually IG-11.
Oh, okay. Crestfallen, but okay. I think Favreau said he's going to appear in the show, though.
That would be okay with me.
I don't know. I think Screen Rant or something like that.
I have a feeling there's going to be a few cameo appearances from characters and things in there that are going to blow our minds, that we have no idea that's coming. The other thing that really kind of struck me is one of the first things they show you is the Mandalorian's ship, which I don't know about you guys, it really made me think of Serenity. His ship looks like Serenity to me.
Yeah, the nacelles being where they are on the side.
Yes.
And I wonder if that was kind of like a little in-joke, or whether they were just unawares. I have to feel like there's something in that, though. There's no way any fan of the genre didn't see that and say, yo, John, actually, you know what you're doing with this, right?
Yeah, you never know, but who knows? He may at one point in time say he's a leaf in the wind. Then you know it's real.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, then the fix is in.
It's going to be one of those shows where you're going to be glad by the time it's over, after you've been through the first season, that you're happy to know it. They've long since been working on the second one, and you're going to just hope that you don't have to wait long for that second season, because You know, for those of us who watch shows like Into the Badlands, it was tough waiting an entire year for that show to come back.
It was a long year.
And did I see that they're doing the weekly episode release with that?
Yes.
It's not just doing the Netflix dump. So,
No.
you know, you can't just binge it like I do with my Marvel shows on Netflix and just, that's it, I'm done for a few months.
Yep.
Right. I'm actually really excited that they're doing it that way, because
Yeah,
the
me
last
too.
time I really had a show where I was like, oh my gosh, we're just going to wait a week, was with Game of Thrones when it was airing. And that was always really fun. And then you ended up, you know, having friends come over, everybody watches it together kind of a thing. And then you all just wait it with anticipation, discussing it for the next week.
Yeah.
And I say that I want to do that with other shows, even if they're, you know, bingeable, but I just don't have the self-control. So the fact that they're just going to force me to do it means a lot.
Could be worse. You know, at least you're doing it with shows and not with like heroin or something like that. But I'm just saying. But there is something to be said for enjoying that show week to week and having that water cooler moment and discussing that with folks. And hey, no spoilers. Which, you know, when they do the Netflix dump and they're all there. I mean, you know, I did it with Stranger Things. You don't know how far your cubicle mate has got into that. So you start talking about this and like, what are you talking about? I'm on episode 2. And
it always happens.
Always. So I think the parity is nice. The fact that, as you say, you don't have to have the self-control, that's pretty cool.
Well, Jeff Goldblum was there, and they dropped the trailer for his show, The World According to Jeff Goldblum. And the only thing I can say about this trailer is this is exactly what I thought this show was going to be, which is a good thing, by the way. It's just going to be him, you know, taking typical things and digging deeper into them and asking typical Jeff Goldblum questions and learning things about it and having a lot of fun along the way. It's definitely a show that I plan on watching.
100%. I mean, I've been excited about this since I first found out about it. I was blown away by the trailer because it was they delivered on exactly what I wanted. It's him sort of just investigating things he's interested in but admits he knows nothing about. It's, you know, he said it's not supposed to be really instructional or informative. It's just supposed to be you enjoy it and sort of go with him and learn what you learn and have a good time. And just even in the trailer, you just get sort of a taste of his sort of magical cadence that he has, which I think is what's going to make this show so great, is just him talking about mundane, everyday things. And I can't wait.
Yeah, they brought him to, I want to say DreamHack, the big esports tournament in Dallas for a day a little while ago. I say in Dallas. It was held in Dallas. It goes all over the place. Someone's going to correct me, I know. And I know the local press here said that he went down a storm. Like, he was magnificent to everyone he interacted with, and he really came at it from this sort of savant sort of point of view, in that he was just so excited and so exuberant about everything that he didn't know anything about, and just really was ends up being quite a good ambassador for what he's talking about as well. It's not just Jeff Goldblum making some noises and doing his scat thing. He's actually him, I guess, changing hearts and minds. And I like that.
All right. Well, I know this won't surprise anybody, but the High School Musical shows or films were not my thing, but I was not the target audience at the time. So I can't say I was anticipating the announcement for the High School Musical series, but I will say I think the concept for what they're doing with this series is kind of ingenious. It's like a mockumentary series where the kids in this high school are all trying to audition to be in that school's version of High School Musical. It would have been kind of easy just to say, okay, well, let's just do a High School Musical series. But this really means that they took more than about 10 seconds to think about something unique they could do with it. And while I'm probably not going to be checking it out, I think the idea for the target audience is a really good idea.
I was the target audience when it came out, and yet my memories of it are very vague. It didn't really take place in space, and so I didn't really pay much attention to it. But like you said, I mean, the concept is actually pretty funny, where they're like, hey, can you believe nobody's ever tried to, like, you know, perform this musical in the actual high school where they, you know, performed the original? And, like, that's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
And some of the dialogue was really good. I was very surprised to have a bleeped S-bomb. Because I was like, okay, Disney Plus, because I was wondering if everything was going to be, very toned down. But then after seeing Stormtrooper heads on spikes in the Mandalorian trailer, and then them dropping S-bombs in High School Musical, the series, I was like, okay, so maybe this is going to be a little bit of a wider spectrum than I thought. But I probably won't check it out either. But I think for those that are interested, I think they're really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I was taken by the meta sort of concept of it. I don't like scary movies, but I remember watching Scream and loving it because of the meta concept.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's a twist, I guess, that never gets old, whether you do that, as I say, the mockumentary style. I mean, The Office, people adore that, and that had that. Anytime you take that twist and execute it well, you get a good show out of it. So I kind of feel like if my kids watch it, I might be sticking around for it. I might not make it a regular thing, but there were enough, as you said, enough moments in the trailer to make me think it was more than just filler. I felt like, again, it's one of those things they're going for. They've got us on board with the Star Wars and the MCU. They've got the Lady and the Tramp people. The Musketeers on for that. Those Disney Channel people, again, they're touching all the bases and trying to make it a must-buy purchase for any fan of Disney, no matter what area, what genre you like. And mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my thing, but I was intrigued. So yeah, job done.
They got an actual laugh out of me at the end whenever that kid was in the gym and the gym teacher came in and was like, "Isn't there somewhere you're supposed to be?" And the kid was like, Broadway. That actually made me chuckle because I was like, all right, Disney Plus, that's funny. All right.
Makes me think of if you've ever seen the South Park episode parodying High School Musical, that makes that even a little more funny. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's pretty great. All right, so I didn't know anything about Noel. Next thing I know, that this poster comes out on social media with Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader in Santa Claus outfits, and it's like, oh, they're doing a Christmas movie. And my first reaction, even not knowing anything about it, I was really kind of interested immediately, because they really, at least to me, don't really make a whole lot of really good Christmas movies anymore, and haven't for some time.
Unless they're like on Hallmark.
Hallmark. Unless you're watching the Hallmarks.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
But it's been a long time since we've had something make the impact of like a Christmas Vacation or Christmas Story, or even some of the, really nice themed Christmas movies. So I thought, okay, well, Disney's doing one. They're not going to turn it into Christmas with the Cranks or something like that. So I watched the trailer, and it didn't take me long for me to go, no, I'm not digging this. I'm not even sure I'm even that interested in this concept. Okay, so Santa's retiring. I guess the son, Nick, is about to take over. That's Bill's character. And then you've got the sister, who's Noelle. That's Anna Kendrick. And he's stressing out about the job. And she says, go take a weekend off. He takes longer, and they have to go rescue him to save Christmas. There's elements of that just seems like very rehashed to me. I don't know. I didn't really laugh a whole lot. It looked very typical contemporary humor in kind of the bad way for me. And as much as I love Christmas, as much as I love Christmas movies, this just doesn't feel Christmassy enough to me. This feels like Hollywood's Christmas, another Hollywood Christmas story that just isn't really going to connect with me that well. But that's me. So humbug on that.
Oh my gosh, your heart is 2 sizes too small.
No.
I can't believe you. Oh my gosh.
I have plenty of movies that I will still watch over and over and over again on Christmas. It's not like I need room for something.
I don't know what to say. You don't need another Star Wars trilogy, but we're all going to watch it. We were quite happy with Avengers 1, but we went back for 2 and,
Well, because there was more story to tell. Apparently,
2.
there's not more story to tell when it comes to Christmas.
The Christmas tropes, Santa going missing, replacement Santa, all that stuff, yeah, it's been done before. But has it had, amazing, pitch perfect ingenue Anna Kendrick doing it? I know. And Bill Hader, I mean, that man, I never liked him on SNL apart from Stefan, which I guess is a lot of what he did on SNL, but I wasn't his biggest fan on that. But, on Barry, he's great. And the trailer, man, I was, all right, now, you know my bona fides, I like my Hallmark. I was weeping watching that. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch this. This looks so good. It really was my breakout trailer. Yeah, I'm going to watch The Mandalorian. You already knew I was going to watch The Mandalorian. But this, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. I was chuckling. I was just the bit at the end with the candle. I was giggling so hard. I was like, oh my God, this looks so good. And so to hear you say that makes me think that, I'm just completely off kilter. Like, I haven't taken my meds and my perception is just completely twisted.
Oh my
Because,
God.
I would normally put a lot of stock in your opinion, Scott, but no, I just didn't know what to make of the world. I'm really upset.
Well, I mean,
and I'm not being facetious. I'm really upset. I love that movie.
Look, you never really find people that agree 110% of the time. So, I mean, I don't think we agree on J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. So it's happened before.
But this is Christmas.
I know, but I mean, it's like when you grow up with those movies that I grew up with. I mean, I can name others. Not all of them were comedies like The Christmas Story. The Christmas Story has some nice moments to it too. There's just a standard there that I just personally feel hasn't been fulfilled very often.
When was the last time it was, in your opinion? Just so I can get the barometer of this, like the measure. When was the last modern Christmas movie that you enjoyed?
I don't remember I don't remember because I don't remember the years that everything came out. I mean, the ones that I generally know.
Santa Claus?
No, definitely not Elf. No, Santa Claus either. I thought Santa Claus was boring. So no, it probably hasn't been in the last 20 years. At least for me.
Well, my last must-have every Christmas, and probably my only must-have every Christmas, more so than Peanuts. I didn't grow up with it because over here that's a tradition, but back home, we don't see Peanuts the same way. Was Prep and Landing, which another Disney, more SNL alums, and yeah, I put great faith in whatever they want to show me. If it's good enough to hit network or streaming, then I'm like, yeah, I'm there all the way for it. But this especially, I was just so tickled. And maybe that was it. Maybe it was the whole surprise factor that I was. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having my expectations met, sir. It's going to be a good one. I'm positive of it.
Well, I don't want to go now because I don't want to upset Nathan further.
No, come on, Regina. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. You got something to say, madam?
Oh my God, I just don't care at all. I love Christmas so much. I love Anna Kendrick. Like you said, I wasn't really a fan of Bill Hader on SNL, but he's grown on me since Barry. But I just don't care about any of it. I was already thinking about something else before the trailer was over. I feel like such a jerk now for saying that, and I'm so sorry. And Nathan, I'm so happy, and you may have given me a little bit more Christmas spirit just by letting me hear your reaction. But I'm not interested.
Yeah, that's really good.
Oh my God.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? That's the sound of my heart breaking.
Please don't leave.
That's what that was. It just
before we can
Way
carry
to go,
this
Scott.
battle out even further.
Last
trailer is one that I have a feeling we're all going to watch. It's called One Day at Disney, and it's a documentary highlighting the different people working at Disney that make the magic come to life every day at the parks. That's the impression I'm getting from it. From everybody, doing all different types of jobs. And it's like, working, what's a day at Disney like for these people? I think that's also a very important show to do too, because we've talked about how there's going to be one on the Imagineers, and there's people that you think about that obviously stand out if you had to stop and think about it, but there are tons of people that show up to work every day doing a variety of things that you might not think about that are truly contributing to the family experience there. And I think seeing those stories is going to be enlightening and good for audiences to see.
I agree. I think I'm going to be a bit mind-boggled at how much it actually takes to run these parks. Because, I mean, I already know that it's something, just ridiculous as far as just how many people it takes and all the different jobs that they all have. But I think seeing it in this form in a documentary is going to be really, really awesome, because the only information I've ever really gotten, other than, our interview with the Imagineer or articles with interviews of people that work at Disneyland, that's all I've really ever gotten. And all of those interviews have been incredibly interesting because it seems like such a mystery as to how they do all this. And so to have an actual documentary that's just going to finally kind of lay it out, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, if you go on Deadline, they have a list of some of the people who are featured in the Disney Plus show, because I think there's a companion book that comes out as well. And they have a whole bunch of Imagineers that they're going to feature. One of them did the props for Galaxy's Edge. Another one does the robotics for all the different, or oversees that development for all the different parks around the world. They talk to the veterinarian that cares for all the creatures at Walt Disney World. They talk to a guy who works on the train at Anaheim. There's a whole bunch of folks in there, as well as a few of the animators. And you know what? Again, when I was watching that, I mean, I was really pumped from Noelle, of course, but I got all the feels. Like, you really got a feeling of why they do what they do and why they love what they do. And yeah, I can't wait to watch that one as well. I think that'll be really insightful.
All right, so before we get to some of the quick hits or some of the announcements, let's touch on a few quick things that just kind of popped out of D23. One thing that seemed to get people's attention after all this talk about the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, obviously following the events of Endgame and Captain America giving the Falcon his shield, some people automatically felt, and reasonably so, and there's obviously some history there too, that, well, okay, I guess that means that he's going to become the next Captain America. But Anthony Mackie over the weekend said that that isn't necessarily the case, and that he will always just be the Falcon. He may carry the shield, but he is not going to fully transform into Captain America. What did you think of that?
I'm completely fine with this. I think this was completely the right move. I love the comics that have Falcon completely acting as Captain America, completely taking over the mantle, but I don't think it's right for this, because this is going to be pretty much all we have of, Falcon. And as you said, he can sort of carry on the legacy without fully taking on the mantle, because with the comic books, you could pick up a few issues of, the Falcon as Captain America and have a really good time reading them. But, if you get sick of that and want some regular Captain America, or want Falcon acting as Falcon, you can just go grab one of those comic books. This is our only option. So we need to make sure that it's easily digestible and interesting for everyone. So I think having a middle ground where he is still Falcon, but sort of acting in Captain America's honor, I think is a perfect compromise.
I think it's a bait and switch. I think he is Captain America. I think he's Captain America that suffers from the imposter syndrome that Sam Wilson did in the comics whenever he got that kind of Commander Rogers-inspired outfit and the shield. And he said, yeah, I might be like Captain America, but I'll never be Captain America. So I'm sure someone's going to refer to him as Captain America, and I'm sure there's going to be some hijinks with the shield. I'm positive of it. I'm calling it now, folks.
Well, I'm fine with shield hijinks and things like that, but I think we don't need to go too far into it in the show.
Well, and ultimately in the comics.
Never mind.
Well, I'm just saying, in the comics, he ended up giving it back, and, Steve Rogers was Captain America again anyway. But for a minute, I'm going to leave it there.
Well, comicbook.com did a report on it and brought up in their story that another aspect to throw into all this is how an upcoming Disney Plus show is going to introduce John Walker. Probably most commonly known as U.S. Agent Walker, who's going to be played by Wyatt Russell from Overlord, if you saw the movie Overlord. They say here, as the name suggests, U.S. Agent John Walker was turned into a pseudo-Captain America experiment to work solely on the behalf of the United States government. He did, however, make his comics debut as the supervillain Super Patriot, so it's yet to be revealed if Russell's take will be friend or foe to Captain America's closest friends.
That really could go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the US agent. When I was buying comics, he was in West Coast Avengers, and my captain was Captain Britain, if we're talking Marvel, because it was also done by Marvel UK. Most of it was done in-house. And, those dudes were just super, super cool. And, Excalibur, all that. We'll probably get into it another time. Big fan, though, of US Agent. When I saw that outfit, I wasn't going to be like, oh, yeah, Captain America, great. Because, I'm English. I'm trying to be all patriotic. But the US Agent, he looked so completely badass with that black outfit. You could not love him. Like, he looks so cool. Like Black Spidey suit, Like,
it's
you
like
were a
somehow
purist,
mixing Captain America and the Punisher.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
And maybe a little bit of Night Monkey.
That is really good. Oh, boy.
Scott,
Just,
why does this always happen?
Well, that's what they were calling. That's what they were calling Spider-Man in the last Spider-Man movie. Night Monkey.
just
This one's really gone off the rails, guys.
always the worst bits,
Okay.
Maybe it's just I like saying Night Monkey.
I mean,
Name
if that
of our
was
new band.
if that was your nickname, you'd be pretty impressed. Like if someone gave you a nickname like, "Hey, you're going to be Crawl Space," you'd be like, "That sounds weird." But if you were like Night Monkey, you'd be like, "That sounds weird, but I dig it." So I get it. I guess.
Well, sticking with the Captain America theme, we knew going into D23 that there was going to be an animated series based on the What If comics. And we also knew going into this that the first episode, I believe, is going to feature Peggy Carter. And her What If story is what if Peggy had been infused with the Captain America Super Serum. And sure enough, at D23, Haley was there. And they showed pictures to the audience of the animated version of Peggy Carter and what that's going to look like for that episode where she becomes Captain America, or I guess Captain Carter. I'm really excited about this. I had a podcast dedicated to the Agent Carter series. I've wanted them to do more with Peggy. I hated to see that series go. I didn't think it was fair for that series to go. I still want more. But if this is all we can have now, I think this is kind of a cool concept to hear Haley at least being able to bring voice to the character again and see a really interesting take, because we already know that Agent Carter is more than capable of handling herself. So it is kind of an interesting thing to think about if she had been infused with the Captain America serum.
I think it's a perfect what if story. I love most what if stories, as wonky and weird as they are. Like you said, she's incredibly capable and incredibly strong-willed. So this one, while being a what if, still makes a lot of sense, and I think it's going to play out really well. The only thing I'll say is that serum made her handsome. Like I saw her face and I was like, okay, gave her a jaw.
I was just waiting for the action figure. There's no way they're not going to make that.
They will.
That armor looks so good with the Union Jack on it, and the shield looks really cool too. So that'll be another, drain on your pocketbook, because Hasbro's going to do something with that, or Hot Toys maybe. I'm begging you, do something with that. Take my money.
I'll get that action figure.
For sure.
I think a lot of people would. All right, well, we had a special guest here on our last episode who was a former Disney Imagineer, and we did that as kind of a nod to the Disney Plus documentary series about the Disney Imagineers. And we found out at D23 that Angela Bassett will be the one narrating that series, and I think that's a really good voice for a documentary series like this, especially.
I think I could listen to Angela Bassett read the dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
I love that woman. I love everything she's ever been in, and I've seen her play so many different types of characters. I think it's going to be pretty cool just to have her narrating something. But I love everything the woman touches, so I'm sure this is going to be perfect.
I listened to that interview you did last week, and even though the guy told me what he did and what Imagineers do, I still don't really comprehend what it is Imagineers do, because it's so broad. It's such an experiential thing. So to get more behind the scenes with that, just like the other docu show they're doing, I know I'm there for it. I'm going to be just fascinated, I'm sure.
All right, so let's talk about some announcements that came out of D23. I was really glad that they gave us some form of confirmation about something they are doing with the Muppets, because there had been two things that were kind of floating around out there. One was a movie they were going to do, or a series they were going to do that took place right after the Muppets Take Manhattan, where the group is all split up, but then Rolf goes missing, and they get everybody back together to go look for him. It was going to have Josh Gad involved in it. That has yet to be confirmed by anyone, I think. The other thing that was out there was an unscripted little short series of random Muppet scenes, and that has actually been confirmed. So I was glad to see that at least something out of that got confirmed. So we have Muppets Now is what they're going to call it. Variety calls it a short-form unscripted series starring the Goofy Puppets. Well, that's a nice way to spin it. I think Kermit might take exception to that description. Is set to premiere on the forthcoming Disney service in 2020. Kermit actually released a letter to the fans that announced this new unscripted short-form series, and then he had things that were blacked out, restricted, because someone named Joe the Legal Weasel would not allow him to give too many details away. So I guess we're going to find out who that is, too, on top of everything. So it says that the Variety goes on to say that the series will feature plenty of everyone's favorite Muppets alongside celebrity guests. I don't know if I guess they're skits or something. That's what I'm trying to figure out, because I always thought the Muppets were at their best when they were doing things that were along the lines of the old Muppet Show. I noticed that when they tried that series out, where they made that mockumentary series where they were all in an office working on a live late-night TV show, which was very disappointing for me and a lot of other Muppet fans, I noticed that late in the game when they switched showrunners and they were trying to save that series, what they started to do was something I thought they were going to do from the get-go, which was do Muppet-themed acts as part of the late-night show that were very reminiscent of the old Muppet Show, but by that time, it was too late. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for this one. The unscripted element is really interesting. I wonder what made them go that route, because that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, it's a completely different vibe, but I'm excited about it, and I'm very intrigued by it, because I'm not like, the biggest Muppet super fan, but the short form unscripted thing is kind of resonating with me. I think that's pretty interesting, and I'm going to check it out, because the only really unscripted show I ever watched was a show on Hulu called Quick Draw, which was sort of a comedy that takes place in the Wild West. And the unscriptedness really, really worked. It's sort of just a different tone of comedy that can't be achieved any other way. So I'm hoping that kind of, trickles into this, and I'll check it out.
Yeah, you'd have to think for how much those, how do you call them, puppeteers? Are they actors? Because I don't think you could just call Frank Oz like a puppeteer. But someone like that really inhabits his characters. So you feel like they have enough of the characterization that they can do the unscripted thing. And it's, like you said, it's probably more of the former, Muppet Show, more of a reboot of the classic, as opposed to snarky, divorced Muppets going through midlife crisis type thing that we kind of got last time round. Again, appealing to their base, getting those Disney diehards, those Henson diehards back into it. Yeah, I'm a believer. I'd be there for that too.
I have every intention of checking it out. I would really like to see something kind of catch fire and give them a reason to do more with the Muppets, because it seems like, I thought that 2011 movie was the best thing they had done with the Muppets since Manhattan. And then Muppets Most Wanted was okay, and then the failure with the ABC series, and it's just been quiet for the most part, outside of some viral fun things they've done on the internet and on YouTube. So I'm just hoping that whatever they end up doing works well enough where they'll think of more things to do with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think for Marvel fans, I think it's easy to maybe jump to the conclusion that probably the biggest mind-blowing, jaw-dropping, head-exploding, well, that's the same thing as mind-blowing, really big announcement that just came out of the blue was the announcement of a TV series for Moon Knight, a TV series for She-Hulk, and a TV series for Miss Marvel.
I feel so lucky to be a nerd right now, especially one that is a fan of Moon Knight. I love Miss Marvel. I think that one's going to be really good. I love Jennifer Walters, so I'm sure She-Hulk is going to be awesome. But both of them are still pretty well known. Moon Knight, I feel like, needs this more. And, Mark Spector is really, really cool. We've talked about him on Comic Book Noob. This makes me want to do a Comic Book Noob Part 2 because I just want to see some Fist of Khonshu madness. And just finally getting to see him live action now that we've taken sort of combat sequences to the place that we've taken them now, I'm beside myself with how happy and satisfied I am with this announcement.
I don't know that there's any reason to say that we're doing all this now unless they're trying to bait you into that multi-year subscription thing that they're doing. I think is it buy 3 years worth of Disney Plus and you get like 30% off or something. But what a way to do it. What a way to snag you.
Right.
Ms. Marvel, she's such a great character. That's going to be a good one. And I understand that one's supposed to lead into a role in the MCU movie as well. She-Hulk had no idea, but awesome.
Right.
I'm there for that. And I think with Moon Knight as well, I think the stage is set for it because people have shown with how well received Legion was on Fox. People like the trippy headspace stuff. But also with Punisher, people really like the visceral, damage-dealing fisticuffs. And Daredevil too, they like the action, they like the intensity of those action pieces, and you can do that with Moon Knight. It's perfect for the character. It's not shoehorned in. It's a perfect fit, and like you said, good time to be a nerd.
Well, one of the other things I have heard people talk about, perhaps not as much as Star Wars and Marvel and some of the other franchises, is people have wondered with the announcement of Disney Plus if they would do anything new with Phineas and Ferb. And it turns out they are. It's called Phineas and Ferb the Movie, Candace Against the Universe. So she's been kidnapped by aliens and Phineas and Ferb have to go rescue her. I have seen some of Phineas and Ferb, and I actually think it's a pretty brilliant show. I just never got around to watching all of them. I watched a few of the shows, and I watched the Star Wars special, which was a lot of fun. So I think I'll probably watch this, because the few times that I have watched the two of them, I've enjoyed it. And I just think the kind of the creativity and the ingenuity of the show, plus the running gag. I'm also a big fan of Perry the Platypus. Mm-hmm. So I definitely plan on checking that out.
I think I'm going to check it out too, because I used to watch this show with my little brother. And it was one of those, kind of like you mentioned, Nathan, like, oh, if the kids are watching it, I may not leave the room because it's just interesting enough. But Phineas and Ferb genuinely cracked me up many, many times. So I don't think they're going to fail me now.
Yeah, I just wonder who it's for. Is that for people who've watched it before? Or is that to try and lure a new audience? Like the Lizzie McGuire reboot. I have a feeling, that it's kind of an oddity on the rest of their lineup. I don't know what it does there. I get why they do it to a certain degree because it's an established Disney property, but it's not like it's a hot property. And I don't know that anyone was really calling out for that. Same with Lizzie McGuire. I mean, I love me some Hilary Duff, but, it's good you're coming back. But, yeah, why? I don't know. But as long as you like it, Scott, I mean, you hate Christmas, so whatever gives you some joy in your life, I'm fine with it.
No. I love Christmas. I hate recent attempts to brand something Christmas movies.
La 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 la. Didn't hear you. La la la. You hate Christmas.
I mean, I'll say this: they haven't done as poor of a job with Christmas movies as they did for a while, attempting to create slapstick when they were trying to do movies in the quote tradition of movies like Airplane.
Yeah.
But they weren't really, they weren't nearly as clever, they weren't as well written. They didn't even really tell much of a story. It was just how many pop culture references can we shove into one film? I mean, they've probably done a worse job of that than they have the Christmas movies, but it's not far off.
I was only trying to get you riled up, sir. I know. We're just dawdling until you get to the big announcement, which I think is the one that we're all super hyped for. So, do your thing, sir.
All right. Well, I mean, let's just say this was an early Christmas present. And by the way, I'll kind of set this up by sharing. If you hadn't seen this online, definitely check this out. It's a cool moment, even if you know what's happening. But there was a moment where Kathleen Kennedy was on stage, and at one point in time, Duel of Fate started to play, and out walks Ewan McGregor. And as Ewan walks onto the stage, his image of Obi-Wan Kenobi comes up, and the music comes down, and Ewan says, "Kathleen, would you please ask me if I am going to play the character Obi-Wan Kenobi again?" And sure enough, she goes, "Ewan, yes. Will you be playing the character Obi-Wan Kenobi again?" And he just smiles, looks at the crowd, and says, "Yes."
Ooh, such a good moment. And I love convention moments like that. The last time I had one of those moments was with Patrick Stewart announcing Picard. Those moments are just so wholesome and just so transcendent and awesome. And to have it finally confirmed, because this is like, oh, we're doing it. No, we're not. Oh, we're doing it. No, we're not. That was starting to drive me a little bit crazy. So for them to fully bring him out on stage with Kathleen Kennedy and both of them say, yes, this is happening, now I can finally believe it. So this was a Christmas gift.
Absolutely. Those were the droids we were looking for. That's what we wanted. Everything else is everything else to Star Wars as far as I'm concerned. This is rejuvenated my faith in what's going on in Lucasfilm with Kathleen Kennedy. I'm prequels, bright spot. It's him all the way. So we're glad to have him back, and someone who's so passionate about the character, someone who's so excited to be Obi-Wan, who is raised in the mythos. Yes, please, more of that.
I mean, look at that. Look how many live action Star Wars stuff we're getting on top of the fact that I think they announced that Clone Wars was going to hit in February.
So much good content.
Yeah.
God.
So by the time you're done with The Mandalorian, you're not going to have to wait long for the end of Clone Wars to finally wrap up the last season of Clone Wars. So, plus remember we have the Cassian Andor series as well coming.
Yeah, they're just going to give us, little like breadcrumbs one by one. Because, then we won't have time to sort of be like, we got a little apathetic right now just because we were waiting for so long. No, they're just going to keep feeding it to us, and I'm inclined to allow it.
One of the things that we've talked a lot about is just how many people are now trying, or how many companies really are trying to get into the streaming service game. And it's got everybody saying the same thing in their conversations. It's going to be like, gosh, we're going to be subscribed to so many streaming services. Well, I think that's true to some degree. At the end of the day, if it becomes a dominant presence in our entertainment culture, I think it'll turn into a marketplace thing. I think there'll be people that know what they really want, and they'll unsubscribe to things that they realize they're not watching as much. And I think Disney Plus with all this are making just damn sure that never crosses your mind any year, any day, any month to go, well, maybe I don't need Disney Plus. That's really, if you like more than one of these type of things, that's probably going to be next to impossible.
We have a whole streaming service that's dedicated to these moments. It doesn't feel like there's filler, apart from Phineas and Ferb. It's cool. But, it has a fan base. It has an appeal. It doesn't feel like, oh, we just bought this show in to show up the back catalogue and fans of this may like this. No, it's everything that you want. It's premium quality stuff. It's the sort of thing you would expect from an HBO. It's the sort of thing you would expect from a cinematic release. But you get it on TV, first run, at your convenience. It's a beautiful time to be a fan of pop culture.
Well, that's going to wrap up today's episode of the Disney Plus Streamcast. Feel free to visit us at DisneyPlusStreamcast.com or on Twitter at DisneyPlusCast. We'll be posting some new polls there very soon, and we will have a new episode of the show in 2 weeks. In fact, we just have a handful of shows left before Disney Plus launches, and we start incorporating recaps into the show. I definitely hope you'll join us for that. We're excited for that because that means we're all watching it, and then we can come back here and discuss things with you. Well, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to having you back with us in 2 weeks for another episode of the Disney Plus Streamcast.
The entertainment, adventure, and magic on Disney Plus never stops. So join us for the next episode of the Disney Plus Streamcast. You can subscribe to the show on podcast providers like iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Search, stream, or download any episode on our website. While you're there, get news updates, watch videos, follow us on social media, and check out the Streamcast Spotlight. Just go to DisneyPlusStreamcast.com. Thank you for listening.